Well, good morning and Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And Shabbat Shalom to everyone who is here in our sanctuary joining us, and Shabbat Shalom and good morning to everyone who is joining us on on Facebook and on YouTube and on our new streaming service, which is on tilb.org. tilb.org. At the very top of that website, you can click on the live stream link. It's a slightly higher quality stream. And welcome to everyone as we gather here together, not just to welcome in Shabbat, not just to open up the eyes of the day to the beauty in it, but as we welcome a new member of our community. But first, as I imagine many of us may have anticipated, a little bit of housekeeping. So the first is that if anybody has a cell phone, I want to invite us to take the cell phone and place it on silent so we can be in this morning without that particular distraction today. And of course, a note about the Los Angeles County health guidelines. So the ask is that we are asking for everyone to please remain masked as we enjoy our service together this morning. And that, of course, includes not just our mask over our mouths, but our noses as well. And I imagine many of us at this very moment are sitting here and saying, that's all fine and good, but you and Cantorial Cooper don't have masks on this morning. We have very recently taken a COVID test, and both have tested negative, but as an extra precaution, we've cleared the first couple of rows this morning as well. You'll notice anytime we invite anyone up to the bima, we'll ask them to wear a mask, although when the family is together, as they are potted together, you can remove your masks. A note as well about entering this morning in prayer. There are many different ways to welcome a day like today, many different ways to celebrate Shabbat, and so we have set a number of melodies, a number of rituals, and a number of sections of words that hopefully can inspire us, remind us of the highest ideals of living, or simply bring us completely into this moment, but we know that our hearts will wander this morning. And so, as we pray together this morning, I want to just make a note about our prayer book that we'll be praying from. You'll notice on the right side of every page, you'll see the words that we'll share together, and we'll offer the page numbers, or rather, Jenna's going to offer the page numbers this morning. But underneath each of those prayers are a little bit of commentary, something that might help inspire us and help us learn, as well as other readings on the other pages. And so this morning, if and as our hearts wander, I invite us to let our eyes wander as well. We all come into prayer in a different way. You'll also find a pamphlet that has some of the outline for our service this morning as we together bring in this holiday of Shabbat with music. And so before we go any further, I need to offer a great and hearty thank you to David York for offering and bringing music to us this morning. Thank you, David, for being here, for offering your music for us this morning and bringing us all together in song. For some of us, those songs are going to be ones that we sing along with, word for word, the words that we find in our prayer books. For others, we're going to hum along to the melodies, and for still others, it's simply going to be letting those melodies wash over us, and each and every one of these are different and powerful ways into prayer, into a sacred moment this morning. Well, this morning we begin our service with words of welcome to one another, looking out at this community and saying, how beautiful and powerful is it for us to gather and welcome a new young adult into our community who has been learning for many months and years to come to this moment. And so we turn to one another, and we turn to page 74 of our prayer books as we offer the words of Ma Tovu.
Ma tovu Yaakov, ma tovu, ma tovu. Ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, ma tovu. Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, ma tovu. Ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, ma tovu, ma tovu. Ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, ma tovu. Va'ani berov hastecha, avo betecha, eshtecha ve'el ha'al kodecha, ve'yiratecha. Ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, ma tovu.
So too, as we this morning tie today to the many Shabbatot before, to the many generations before, by offering literally the same words that were spoken and sung, not just a few years ago, not just 100 years ago, but for thousands of years, so too do we draw together generations this morning. And so it is my absolute joy to call up Jenna and her mom, Michelle, as Michelle presents her talit to her, and I use that term very deliberately, as this is the very same talit that Michelle wore at her bat mitzvah. And so today, Jenna places this same garment on her shoulders. Jenna, come on over here.
Has to be the right side up. So Jenna, 32 years ago, I stood up at my bat mitzvah, and my dad, my papa, presented me with my talit. And Papa, being the good storyteller that he is, told me that when I took out my talit, going to one day give it to my child. And Papa stood up in front of the congregation and said, "Well, I hope you have a girl." And so here I am with my beautiful young girl, and I'm able to present this to you. So I think it all worked out nicely, and I think it worked out for Ben also, who I don't think wants his pink talit. So anyway, I love you. I'm so happy that we finally made it here today, and I present this to you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam lahit atef batzitzit. I hereby accept the obligation of fulfilling these mitzvot as commanded in our Torah. You shall be holy, for I, your God, am holy. You shall not render an unjust decision. Leave something of what you possess to the poor. Do not hate your fellow human being. Judge your neighbor fairly. Do not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. Do not gossip or spread rumors. Do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Love your neighbor as yourself. I am Adonai, your God. We continue with the Baruch Hu on page 108. Please rise in body or in spirit. Lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Please join in the Hebrew on page 110.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarei choshech osei shalom uvarei et hakol hameir la'aretz v'ladarim alecha b'rachamim uv tuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit ma'rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam mehuchma asita mala ha'aretz kinyanecha Tit barach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha ve'al me'orei or she'asita yifa'arucha sela or chadash al tzion ta'ir v'nizkei chulanu meheira le'oro Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'me'orah.
You are praised, who rolls out the dough, raw clay of the universe, into delicate vessels of light, and from nothing at all we could perceive in a world that is turned old. A shimmering new creation right before our eyes, made this moment just for us. How much of life reveals your presence, how much Torah unfolds from each new flower, from each new wave that breaks on the sea. You are praised, who forms from the clay that cloaks our lives, the delicate vessels which contain our light. We continue with Ahava Rabbah on page 112.
Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu. Adonai Eloheinu, Chemla Gedola V'Tera Chamalta Aleinu, Ba'avur Avotenu Ve'imotenu, Shebatchu V'cha, Vat Lamdem Hukei Chaim, Kein Techonenu, Ut Lamdenu. V'ha'ernenu b'toratecha, v'dabek libenu b'mitzvotecha, v'yached levavenu le'ahava u'yira et shemecha, lo nevosh, lo nikalim, lo
We continue with the Shema on page 114. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levacha uv'chol nefshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzvavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinem tam levanecha u'nisartam bam v'shinecha b'yodecha uv'leshecha v'derech uv'shovbecha uv'kamecha u'kshartam leod al yadecha v'hayila totafot b'neinecha u'kshartam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha L'man tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'kem kedoshim Elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotziti atem me'eretz Mitzrayim להיות לכם לאלוהים Ani Adonai Elohechem. Please join me on page 122 for the Michal Melcha.
Yisrael, please rise in body or in spirit. Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, ufdeichinu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael. Go'aleinu Adonai Tzevaot Shemo Kadosh Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
We continue with the Amidah. Sorry.
No, just say that.
We continue with the Amidah on page 124. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufila Gita Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Komei Hakol V'Zoher Ha'Seyavot V'Imachot U'Mevi'u Leihem Leman Shemo Ve'ava Melech Oser U'Mashiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham Yizrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai V'Hayeh Havota Rav Le'Moshiach Mori Ha'atal V'Halchel Chaim Behesed V'Chayei Hakol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Derchei Holim Umatir Asurim Umekayei Emunato Livshenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot Umidam Melach Melech Meimim Umechayei Umatir Yeshua Alehachayo Hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei Hakol. We continue with the Kedusha on page 130. Let us sanctify your name on earth, as it is sanctified in the heavens above, as is written by your prophet. Holy, holy, holy is Adonai Tsevaot. God's presence fills the whole earth.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כי שם שמקדשים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מה אדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם. אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. דור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, לשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue on page 132. Please join us in singing Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat le'asot et ha-Shabbat le'Torah Tamarit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat le'asot et ha-Shabbat le'Torah Tamarit olam. B'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'Doratam Barit olam. Yishet yachamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'Doratam Barit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'Doratam Barit olam. Bye-bye. Please turn to 137 for Ritzeh.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, utefilatan be'ahava tekabel, uti l'ratzon tamid, avodat Yisrael amecha, baruch ata Adonai, she'otcha levadcha v'yira na'avod.
Please be seated. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to share its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment fall within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name sanctify every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivah et mo Yisrael b'shalom.
You could sit with your family now. You're doing great. Please continue silently with either the words that are on the pages in front of you or words that are in your heart. shalom, tova uvracha, chayim chen v'chesed, verachamim, sim 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 shalom, tova uvracha, chayim chen v'chesed, verachamim.
We now continue our service this morning with Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our opportunity to take out the words of our tradition and bring them to life for each and every one of us this morning. And Jenna will be reading these words in just a few moments. But as we take the Torah out, we also want to honor the various generations, those who have brought Jenna to this moment of learning, this moment of teaching this morning. And so I'd like to call up to the Ark Robin Goderer, Hank Goderer, David Currey, Barbara Rittman, Michelle, and John David, as well as Jenna, as we pass the Torah down the various generations to Jenna this morning. The rest of the congregation I'd like to please invite to rise in body or in spirit.
Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai ve'ein kema'asecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imlach le'olam vad Adonai oz le'amo yitain Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom Av harachamim heitiv av etzonecha et Zion Tivna chamot Yerushalayim Tivna chamot Yerushalayim Ki veha levad batachnu Melech Eram Benisa Adon Olamim Adonai mirushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael bikdushato.
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadlu Adonai iti, unromem Shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula, vehagevura, vehatiferet, vechanetzach, vechachod. Ki chol bashamayim uvaretz, ki chol bashamayim uvaretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, vehamitnaseh lechol rosh.
Please be seated. While Jenna is finding her spot in the Torah this morning, I'd like to share just a little bit about this particular scroll that we are reading from this morning. This scroll has a special history, not just with Long Beach, but with our wider community around the world. As we, in our community, know that we build home anytime we open up our sacred words, our sacred script, so too have countless members of our extended and immediate Temple Israel community found home in this same scroll as it was the Torah that was placed in the sanctuary that was housed on the Queen Mary as it went from one place to another around the world. And as new members of the American community made their home here in the United States, emigrating to the United States from their homes to the United States, they prayed over this very same Torah. This is a reminder for all of us that anytime we open up these words and tell the stories of our people, we create a sacred home. This morning, Jenna reads from this very same scroll. Well, we have different members of Jenna's circle to call up for the various different aliyot, the different honors this morning. And so for our first aliyah, we'd like to call up Jenna's grandma and grandpa and grandpa, Robin Goddard, Hank Goddard, and David Currey.
Nala amod hamishpacha laliyah haTorah. Baruch Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher Bachu Banu Mikol Hamin V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Vayomer Moshe El Adonai Ra'ei Ata Omer Eli Ha'al Et Ha'am Hazeh Ve'ata Lo Hodatani Et Asher Tishlach Ini Ve'ata Amarta Yedaticha B'Shem V'gam Matzata Chen Be'enai Ve'ata Imna Matzati Chen Be'enecha Hodi'eni na Et Derachecha Ve'edacha Lema'an emzachen be'enecha ureki amcha hagoi hazeh.
And we continue with the English translation of that same reading.
Moses said to the Eternal, "See, you say to me, lead this people forward, but you have not made known to me whom you will send with me. Further, you have said, I have singled you out by name, and you have indeed gained my favor. Now, if I have truly gained your favor, pray let me know your ways, that I may know you and continue in your favor."
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher notan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natah b'soheinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mazel tov to the Egyptian. For our second aliyah, we'd like to call up Jenna's aunts and uncles, Brian Goddard, Brenda Tran, Tracy Rhiness, Clayton Rhiness.
Nala Amod Hamishpacha La'aliyah HaTorah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Atah Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher B'chabanu Mikol Amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Vayamar Panai Elehu Vahani Choti Lach Vayomer Elav Im Ein Panecha Holchim Al Ta'aleinu Mizeh Uvameh Yivada Efo Ki Matzati Chen Be'enecha Ani Ve'amecha Halo belechtecha imanu ונפלינו אני ועמך מכל העם אשר על פני האדמה. ויאמר אדוני אל משה, גם את הדבר הזה אשר דיברת אעשה, כי מצאתי חן בעיני ואדעך בשם. And God said, I will go in the lead and will lighten your burden. And he replied, unless you go in the lead, you do not make us leave this place. For how shall it be known that your people have gained your favor unless you go with us, so that we may be distinguished, your people and I, from every people on the face of the earth? And the Eternal One said to Moses, I will also do this thing that you have asked, for you have truly gained my favor, and I have singled you out by name.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
For our third Aliyah, we would like to call up Jenna's Torah Center class, her friends, all of the people who have joined her on this journey. And so we would like to call up her 8th grade class for our third Aliyah.
Nala amod hachaverim laliyah haTorah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher achar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayomar har'ini na et kevodecha. Vayomer ani a'avir kol tuvi al panecha. V'karati v'shem Adonai lefanecha. V'chanoti et asher achon. Rachamti et asher arachem. Yomer lo tuchal lirot et panai ki lo yurani. Ha'adam v'chai. Vayomer Adonai Hanei nachon eiti nitzavta al ha'atzur. He said, "Oh, let me behold your presence." And God answered, "I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim before you the name eternal, and the grace that I grant, and the compassion that I show." Continuing, "But you cannot see my face, for a human being may not see me and live." And the Eternal said, "See, there is a place near me, Station yourself on the rock.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Before our fourth aliyah, we'd like to call up Jenna's very proud parents, John, David, and Michelle, as we continue our reading this morning.
Nala Amod, Michal v'John David, Laliyah HaTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'haya ba'avor kivodi, v'samticha b'nikrat hatzur, v'sakoti chapi alecha ad ovri, v'chasiroti et kapi, v'ra'ita et achorai, ufanai lo yira'u. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe b'salecha shnei luchot avani karishonim v'chatavti al luchot et hadvarim asher hayu al haluchot harishonim asher shibarta. And as my presence passes by, I will put you in a cleft of the rock and shield you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take my hand away, and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen. The Eternal One said to Moses, "Carve 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will inscribe upon the tablets the words that were upon the first tablets, which you shattered."
Baruch et Adonai, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Before our fifth and final aliyah, we call up Jenna herself to the Torah reading. By nature of taking on this aliyah, she takes her place in our community as a bat mitzvah.
Nala Amod, Nala Amod, Nala Amod. Habat mitzvah, Yafad bat Michal v'John David, Laliyah HaTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'hyeh nacham laboker, ve'alita vaboker al har Sinai. v'nitzavtali sham al rosh hahar. Ve'ish lo ya'ale ima v'gam ish al yera b'chol hahar gam hatzon v'kabakar al ya'ale al yeru al mu hahar hahu v'hayitz so shnei luchot avani karishonim vayashkem matzon v'boker hayahal el har Sinai Ka'asher Tzivat Adonai Oto Vayikra ve'ado Shnei luchot avani. Be ready by morning, and in the morning come up to Mount Sinai and present yourself there to me, on top of the mountain. No one else shall come up with you, and no one else shall be seen anywhere on the mountain. Neither shall the flocks and the herds graze at the foot of this mountain. So Moses carved 2 tablets of stone, like the first, and early in the morning he went up on Mount Sinai, as the Eternal had commanded him, taking the 2 stone tablets with him. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata bechonenu. Baruch atah Adonai nontein haTorah.
Amen.
We now continue with the lifting and dressing of our Torah, and so to open our ark, I'd like to call up Ben Currey, Owen Rhinus, and Phoebe Rhinus, as well as Piper Rhinus. For the honor of lifting and dressing our Torah, I'd like to call up Brian Goddard, as well as Ben Currey. The rest of the congregation I'd like to invite to please rise in body or in spirit.
Torah, v'zot haTorah, v'zot haTorah, asher sa Moshe, v'zot haTorah, asher sa Moshe, lifnei b'nei Yisrael, lifnei b'nei Yisrael. V'zot haTorah, v'zot haTorah, v'zot haTorah, v'zot haTorah. V'zot haTorah, v'zot haTorah, al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Lai la 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 la, lai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la la la, yai la la la, yai la la la, yai la la la. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Morasha Tzilat Yaakov, Morasha Tehilat Yaakov, Morasha Tehilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Eitz Chaim hi l'machazikim ba betomchecha me'ushar derachecha darchei noam bechol netivotecha shalom Hashiveinu Adonai Eilecha Noshuva Chadish Chadish Yameinu Chadish Yameinu Kekedem.
Please be seated. Just as we ask our young adults to take the words that are literally passed down generation to generation and help them come alive for us by chanting them and reciting them out loud. And for such a powerful and beautiful reading, I think there is only one thing that we can say, and we offer a mazel tov. So I want to invite all of us to offer that mazel tov on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Mazel tov! Ah, that's such a powerful, beautiful reading. Yasher koach, mazel tov. Well, just as we ask for those words to be brought to life, we so too ask our young adults to tell us what they think these words mean, what we can learn from them, and how they apply to our lives. And so Jenna is going to offer her words this morning for each of us.
When reading my portion, my overall thought was immediately drawn towards leadership. God said to Moses that he had singled Moses to lead the people. Moses asked that God show him how to lead the people, know his ways, so to speak, so that Moses can continue in God's favor. God said he will lead Moses, and Moses said that unless God went in the lead, he would not leave the place. In the next paragraph or so, Moses wanted God's presence so that he could lead correctly. God said he will show his compassion, but Moses could not see his face, but his back. Thinking about the symbolism of this, it was very hard. I thought about it a lot in my free time. A lot of ideas came up along the way of what it means. To me, I think the message that is trying to be conveyed is that we don't need to see people to know that they are in our life and helping us all the way through. Moses did not need to see God's face to know that God is with him to help him lead. God's presence, as I had been taught when I was younger, is always around us. My last thought is this: not only was leadership conveyed in the first paragraphs, a lack of confidence was. Moses didn't have the courage to lead alone. He wanted God's help to do so. We, as the people of this earth, should know that confidence is key. We should know that someone will always be there to guide you, but sometimes you may have to be the bigger person. In conclusion, I want you all to remember this. No matter what you do, have confidence in it, and remember there will always be someone there to guide you. Whether it's God, your family, your friends, or a stranger, there is always someone to help you gain your strength and lead. Lastly, I would like to thank some people. My parents for being the most supportive and embarrassing people ever. My brother Ben, who is always dragged to watch me do everything, but is always there with a smile. my amazing grandma, papa, grandpa coach, my uncles and aunts, older cousins, baby cousins, family friends that I consider cousins, and the rest of my ginormous family and friend families. I love you all. Special thank you to all of my Torah Center teachers and tutors, the rabbi, my cantor, and all of the Temple Israel staff. Thank you for helping me be out here today. Another thanks to everyone who flew out here to see me, all my former or current teachers and mentors, close family, friends, and neighbors. And lastly, to my friends who decided to come support me. Thank you.
Jenna, it has been a gift to share this day with you. And so two of you offered these great presents to each of us, the words of our tradition, these inspiring words that you offer for each of us today. We'd like to offer some gifts to you as well. So I'd like to call up a member of our board of directors, Greg Endelman, to present you with some gifts this morning.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome. I wrote some notes, so forgive me if I look down a little bit, but there were so many wonderful things I wanted to share. And so, Yasser Koach, which is roughly translated to bravo, and so bravo on a fabulous, fabulous job so far. Take a deep breath, the hard part is over, yes. So serving on the board, there's many responsibilities that we have. A lot of it is governance, a lot of it is fiduciary, but my greatest pleasure is doing this right now. You gave me a tremendous honor because I get to be one of the very first people to welcome you back into our community as a young adult and now is a teacher of Torah and somebody who is part of a broader community. And so thank you for that. It also gave me a chance to connect, and what makes today even more special is that we have a personal relationship. You've been a close friend of my daughter, Alyssa, who's in your class, and you guys have grown up together. And so I've got to see you grow up from a small child to a preteen to a teenager, and now a spiritual adult and leader within our community. It's been a little time because of the pandemic for us to be in the same place, and I got a chance to Zoom with you recently, and my first reaction was like, oh my gosh, who's this amazing young woman who's sitting in front of me? And so it's so nice to see you in that capacity. So as we chatted, there were some things I knew and some things that you reminded me, and so I wanted just to kind of highlight some of those things as we talked about your journey leading you here today. So currently you're in 8th grade at Oak Middle School, and you live a very, very busy life. And so at school, yes, I see the head shaking. You shared your least favorite. I'm an educator myself, so I'm always curious about your experience at school. And it was little surprises knowing you and your personality that your favorite thing was just being back in person and reconnecting with your friends and being social, which does not surprise me in the least. Your least favorite academic subject was PE, which is understandable, and your most favorite academic subject was core. But the real passion, the real pleasure, I think has been your experience at school within your drama classes and your advanced choir. 2 advanced choirs this year? Yeah. And so Jenna was sharing with me that one of them is a 0 period, so you have to wake up extra early. And I'm not a morning person myself, but you gave me a vivid image of you driving that early commute down the street and singing the whole way to start the whole day, your whole academic day singing. And that is the perfect way to wake up in the morning. I'm going to try it myself. So beyond your academic day, You, again, have a very, very full schedule. You are involved with dance and piano and creative writing. You love to write fantasy. Not a giant fan of nonfiction, I understand that. And you're involved very, very deeply with musical theater and acting and all those wonderful things. One of the things that I learned more recently about you is your fascination, your curiosity with shapes and images and things like that, mushrooms and flowers and rainbows, I think it was, frogs. Yes.
I have a fascination with frogs.
Yes, and I love that. That's so awesome that you do all that. Ben, like all good sisters, she didn't say a whole lot about you other than she loves you very, very much. That was a close summary, right? But she did talk a lot about the dog, so that's perfect sister, right? So, Scooter, is that your dog's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, Scooter. And so when we talked about getting here today and what this all means, you really spoke about, certainly you're looking forward to celebrating with your friends and family, but it was really this idea of tradition. And it was so beautiful and touching to see your mother present you with her talit that she wore at her bat mitzvah. And there's so much of that symbolism and tradition that I know that you were able to connect with us today. Okay, so future, I know that you said that it's your goal to live in New York at least once. You've had the opportunity to visit and see some Broadway plays there. Possibly going to NYU, possibly starring on Broadway, maybe a voice actor in the future, or maybe even a mental health therapist. Whatever you land on, you are going to be blessed and successful. I'm confident about that. Okay, just a couple final thoughts, and then I promise I'll wrap it up. So just some of my favorite memories of you just personally is I've had the opportunity to see you and your dad perform live, and that was so special. Your role, and you have, music is one thing, but having something important to say is really, really different, and you always have something important to say. And I think that comes through in so many of your talents in creating music playlists and other things. And one of the things that really spoke to me is when I felt the world needed you the most, you did a series of balcony performances during the pandemic when we were on shutdown. And you really helped the community through song, through hope, through love. And thank you for that gift. That you really have a special, special voice. Okay, so speaking of gifts, I get to give you now some gifts. Yeah, that's my other favorite pleasure, is I get to be one of the first to shower with you some gifts. The first is a $250 gift certificate from the National Federation of Temple Youth. We hope you use this to join a youth program or a college program as you visit Israel. Yeah. And then from the Men's Club and the Sisterhood, here is some things. I think it's this one. It's here are some candlesticks and a Kiddush cup so you can keep Shabbat when you go off to NYU or wherever you land. This is your very own gift set. And then on behalf of the Board of Trustees, here's your very own prayer book. And so thank you again, and wonderful job, and mazel tov.
Thank you.
Don't worry, we'll put this away. You don't have to manage it right now. Does this all go under here? Okay. Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Jenna, you are such a joy and a bright light. From the very first times that we started meeting, there was just a glow about you. And even yes, through the mask, your smile is palpable. In fact, I think we were talking the other day that you had said that you had kind of figured out how to smile completely, right? That there's a smile that comes through even when the mask is there. When we started looking at your Torah portion, I always think it's fascinating what things come out to us in the words that are in our Torah. Right? And yes, there are powerful things in the words themselves, but I think they almost speak more to the people who read them. And so when you looked at these words, you immediately started wondering about, well, what about Moses at the beginning saying, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about being a leader in this situation. I'm not sure about leading this community. God, I need to know that you are present. I think there's a reason why those words jumped out to you. Jenna, you are a performer. You like to offer for everyone music and things that bring us perhaps out of our lives or perhaps more deeply into them. But there's different kinds of performance. There's the kind of performance that is all about the performer, all about being someone on stage that can be admired, someone on stage that everyone can look at and say, wow. And that has its place, but I don't get the feeling that that's the kind of performer that you are. Jenna, you're the other kind of performer. The one that instead of asking everyone to look at you, you stand on the stage and allow that to be a lens for everyone who is present. And you look back at the community. And you offer to everyone who is there to celebrate with you a gift. When you looked at this particular text and you thought about this process of leadership and stepping up and being a leader in that situation, there was immediately a connection of, well, maybe a little bit of concern, or maybe a little bit of worry, maybe a little bit of doubt. I'd like to suggest something. And I think Moses learned this in this passage. I think you taught this to us. And so what I want to do is offer this to you as well. In those moments when you are standing and performing and you're not entirely sure, sometimes leadership is acting not in the absence of fear, but in the face of it. Stepping out in front and saying, even in a pandemic, even in difficult times, we can still sing. Jenna, you are that leader. And we are so lucky to have you in that position in our community. Being a young adult, a teenager, and stepping in, thinking about not just how you want to be in this community, but who you want to be for this community. And so I want to remind you of that strength, that sometimes there might be moments where you feel like you want to step up, you're not sure, you're not ready. But then you're going to read Torah as powerfully and beautifully as you did today. You're going to offer for all of us a gorgeous service, an opportunity to be together and celebrate. Jenna, if we are in your hands, our community is in good hands. Mazel tov on becoming bat mitzvah this morning. And I cannot wait to see you continue to offer this gift to each of us as a leader, as a performer, as a bat mitzvah. Mazel tov. We continue to celebrate this morning, and so I'd like to call up your parents, Michelle and John David, as they offer their words of blessing for you as well.
Oh, I'm going first. Okay. Okay. First of all, this is awesome. I'm like looking around and just seeing so many people in our family and community, and I'm truly overwhelmed. So thank you, everybody. Honey, I'm going to embarrass you. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't be cheesy.
No,
I'm begging you.
I know. Okay, well, no, I have actually, I want to start with kind of a serious story of when I picked you up one day in kindergarten many years ago. There was one day where I picked you up and you had a quivering lip and you were visibly upset. And you went on and told me a story about how you had a disagreement with a friend on the playground. And the disagreement was over God. And I'm like, can't you just talk about Teletubbies or something? No. But anyway, so in all seriousness, you were very upset, and you told me that you guys had a conversation about God, and you shared your beliefs, and she shared her beliefs, and she kind of told you that your beliefs were wrong, and you came home and felt like you had done something wrong, and then you started to say things like, why am I Jewish? Why do we have to be Jewish? How come there's no kids around me that are Jewish? And it was at that exact moment where I thought we needed to join a temple. And so I was lucky enough to be on a soccer team with the Endelmans. I don't know if you remember that. And I remember they told me that they went to Temple Israel. And I kind of looked it up, and I recognized a name, Sharon Amster Brown, who is very involved in the education of our kids. And anyway, so we ended up here. And I have to say it was one of the best decisions I ever made. So each year that has gone by, and you've gone to Hebrew school and Torah Center on Sundays, I feel like your love for your Jewish heritage has grown, and your identity has become stronger and stronger. And within that, my identity has become stronger and stronger. And now here we are at your bat mitzvah. And for those of you who don't know, kids, when they turn 13 and they have their bat mitzvah, they're done if they want to be done. They don't have to go on to religious studies. And Jenna's decided to continue her religious studies, and not only that, but on the weekends, she's volunteering in the kindergarten classroom and the Sunday school program, the Torah Center program, and she's really felt such a home and a connection with all of her friends that are here and with the community. So I am just overwhelmed with joy for you that you have found such a home here. And so for my blessing for you today, I want to wish you continued creativity, continued kindness, because you really are one of the most kind people I know. I want to wish you continued confidence on stage and life, and connection with everybody that surrounds you here today. You are one loved little girl, and I love being your mom. Wasn't too cheesy, right?
Wasn't too
cheesy.
Okay.
All right, there's still time for cheesy.
Please.
You know, I love driving you to school because the first music I hear in the morning isn't the radio, it's you. And is my speech done? You know, Rabbi said it really well, because you're a creator, you're a creative kid, meaning you like to create. And what's so amazing about you, and so different than a lot of people, is you like to create for others. And your music in the morning is a gift to me. And when you perform, I can see it's a gift to everyone else. And we're just lucky to have you. So, I also love being your dad the way your mom loves being your mom. And we're just very lucky to have you. And I would tell you, whenever you're feeling like that creative juice isn't flowing, or if you're ever worried about something, I look out here, and this is an extraordinary group of people. Every time I've stood up here today, and Michelle and I keep kind of bumping into each other, looking out at everyone, realizing just how lucky we are and how lucky you are to have these people in your life. It's an amazing group of people. So they're all here for you, and I know that they're all grateful for the gift that you give them.
So we continue now with a blessing that has been passed down from generation to generation This morning, this blessing is for Jenna. I'd like to invite Ben to come on up as we offer this blessing as well.
Put you right here. Okay, come here. Put one in here. You come here, okay? Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's face be turned towards you in graciousness.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God always watch over you, and may you be blessed with that greatest of gifts, that gift of peace. I invite us together to say, Amen. Amen.
Amen.
And as we are gathered together for such a beautiful and powerful moment that we have brought together, this moment to celebrate this life, we offer the words, Shehechianu. Let's sing together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
We continue now with the words of Aleinu on page 282 of our prayer books. I'd like to invite us to rise in body or in spirit.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, lateit gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye hanatzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kacham, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam. Va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz vayom ha'hu bayom ha'hu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo 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 echad.
Please be seated. Our thoughts now turn to those in our community who have suffered a recent loss. As we think of those who have died in this season, in recent days, and in years past. Jenna and her family would like to especially call to mind this morning great-grandma June Rittman, great-grandpa Jack Rittman, great-great-great-grandma Billy Marcus, great-uncle Jeff Rittman, great-grandma Helen Bear, great-grandpa Hess Bear, Great Uncle Bob Currey, Great Uncle Brock Currey, and Great Uncle Bill Currey. We additionally mark Shiva and Shloshim, the 7 days and the 30 days after the death of Laura Bickel and Gutel Mizrahi, and we mourn with those near to Gutel. We mourn with Ariella and Mark, Raquel, Hannah, and Amanda. We mourn with those near to Adele, Loretta, Mihan. We mourn with Jonathan and Lynn, Sarah, Gillian, and Max. And we mourn with those near to Jakob Bassner, and we mourn with those near to Alan Love. We mourn with Willow and Nikki and Bill and Christina and Jackson. And we mourn with those near to David Blumberg. We mourn with Sherry and John and Marcy. And we mourn with those near to Bill Coleman. We mourn with Sharon and Rachel and Brian, Kyla, Ella, and Lola. We additionally mark the art site, the anniversary of the death of Lee Anderson, Lily Barab, Hilla Chasen, Peggy Cohen, Carol Collins, Clifford Dahlin, Rosalind Dower, Frank Decker, Kate Fierro, B. Fletcher, Janet Gonchak, Robert Gundry, Woody Jaffe, Leah Lieb, Isabel Lipman, Morris Lubkin, Larry Mullen, Florence Olinsky, Sylvia Pessin, Judith N. Rakoff, Fanny Schneider, Corinne Shukartsky, Saul Slavitt, Sarah Ann Stern, Ronnie Stoller, Ruth Stotland, Corinne Van Bommel, Mark Weber, Marilyn Weinblatt, William Weir, Lillian Wolin, Charles Wolfe. If you have anyone that you are thinking of this morning and you'd like to share their name aloud, and you're joining us online, I'd like to invite you to go to tilb.org, click the live stream link at the top, where I can see on here the names of those that you are thinking of. I invite you to add their names now. I'll offer their names in just a moment. Additionally, if there's anyone here who is thinking of someone and they'd like to share their name aloud so that we can all hold that person in our hearts, I invite you to share their name as my eyes pass across the room. If you are here having suffered a recent loss or in a period of Shiva or Shloshim, or observing the 12 months after the passing of someone near to you, as well as the yard site, the anniversary of their death, I'd like to invite you to rise first so that we can recognize you in your grief. We add to this Mike Yama. I'd now like to invite all of us to rise together in love and in solidarity. So we offer the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. These words can be found on page 294 of our prayer books, 294. I invite us to join together. Yitgadal, v'yitgadash shemei rabah, v'alma divarach yirteh v'amlich malchuteh, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chay dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'yizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Olmel Maya Yitbarach Vishtabach Vitpa'ar Vitramam Vitnase Vitadar Vitale Vitalal Shmei Dekudisha Barichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata Vishirata Tushbachata Venechamata Damiran Be'alma Vimru Amen Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya L'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may the memories of those near to us always and continue to bring us blessing and be a source of blessing. I invite us together to say, Amen. We always offer and allow joy to take precedence over difficult moments. In fact, if we are in a period of mourning, a holiday will always take precedence over that. And we are in the holiday of Sukkot, which the rabbis have a little bit of concern about actually mourning during at all, because the holiday is actually all about oneg, about joy. It is with that we bring that goodness, that sweetness, and that joy back into our mourning this morning with the words of O say shalom. May we find peace here and everywhere in our world. The words can be found on the very bottom of that same prayer. O say shalom bimroma.
Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Oh, say shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat, 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 Shalom.
Hey, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shabbat,
Shabbat shalom.
Some of the things that we learn at the JCC and preschool are applicable throughout the rest of our lives. I want to say a thank you to everyone who helped make this day possible. Thank you to the village, as it were, that has supported Jenna on this journey. And that includes, of course, thank you to Rachel Van Ralt, our 7th grade teachers, our teachers in our Torah Center, as well as, she's already been named, but Sharon Amster Brown, and everyone who has helped bring Jenna to this moment. A thank you as well to Kiki, who's been behind the scenes and helping with everything. And another thank you to David York, of course, for bringing such powerful music to us this morning. We would like to continue the celebration this morning. And so we add to the oneg of this Shabbat by offering kiddush and motzi, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of a sweet drink, and some challah bread just outside of the sanctuary. And so I'd like to invite us to continue with our celebration, with the oneg. For everyone who is joining us online, I invite you as well to find a sweet drink, find something to bring some sustenance to this day. Wishing everyone a continued Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Mazel Tov. Congratulations.
Mazel Tov.
Outside of the synagogue. Oh my gosh.
did great.